Hi, I'm Melissa Malott, but most people call me Missy, and I want to tell you a little bit about what has happened to me. In October of 2019, I had my first brain surgery. Um, they had found a mass on my brain. I was having problems with my tongue. It felt like I had brushed it 100 times, and I started having tingling in the top of my head and some on the side of my face. And at the time, I thought it was just stress from my job. And I went from the nurse practitioner at the time I was seeing went from pinched nerve to my carotid artery is blocked to Lyme disease and a lack of vitamin D. So I was put on a high dose of vitamin D for 2 months. And after 2 months, then I went and saw the doctor, and I told him the symptoms were still there, and he referred me to a neurologist right away. And that's when I saw Dr. Primack. And after I told him all my symptoms, he sent me for an MRI right away. And that's when I came back as having a mass on my brainstem. And he had called me at home, which most doctors don't, but he did. And I went to see him right away, and he referred me to Dr. Joe in Pittsburgh, where I had my first surgery. And there in October was my first surgery, and he didn't take the whole tumor out. They only got part of it. And I was there. It was his office said it was minimally invasive surgery, but I ended up being in the hospital for 5 days because every time I moved my head, I would get sick. And right before I was to go home, I noticed my toes started swelling. And I had an ultrasound on my leg to make sure where the swelling was coming from. But I still went home. I was okay, and they sent me home. It was about 2 weeks later, after I had surgery. I was sleeping on the couch. I got up to use the bathroom, but I didn't turn any lights on. And when I came back in to lay down, I missed the couch and hit rolled off the end of the couch, and apparently I jarred the living room, and my husband came down, and it was later that morning I noticed my legs started to swell up, and I just thought it was from rolling off the couch. And I developed, I started getting this cough, and it hurt to sit up, it hurt to lay down, it hurt to cough. My husband finally took me to the emergency room, and that was the next day, on Sunday. This happened on Saturday. On Sunday, he took me to the emergency room, and there we found out I had a DVT going up to a PE, pulmonary embolism. I was in the hospital for a couple of days, but I got home. I sent home, but I had a swollen leg for almost going on 3 months, and my left leg is still bigger than my right leg. But after the 3 months, I did return to work. I went back to work in January. I lasted until March 26th of 2020. The I guess you could call it an episode at work where I had a meeting. I left the meeting and was going back to work. I work in a bakery, and I was going back to the floor, and I could feel this episode coming on, and where my head kind of floats off, and I try to hold on to it, but I can't hold on to it, and it floats off, and it kind of makes you, it's a weird feeling. Anyway, they called an ambulance, and my husband came, and they sent me from where I worked in Claysburg to Roaring Spring, which is probably, I don't know how many miles, it's not that far, but it was like over $1,000 for the ambulance ride. I could have ridden with my husband, for heaven's sake. But from there, Roaring Spring at the hospital, they checked me out, and they sent me home, and I made arrangements to have a second surgery, but I could have had the option for having within a year. I had a year to have the second surgery, and with this episode, I needed the second surgery. So April 7th of 2000 was my second surgery, and it was during COVID. So when I was taken to the hospital, my sister drove and my husband took me to Pittsburgh. But at the time, we didn't realize you could wait in a parking lot to find out the outcome of the surgery. I was kind of like dropped off and by myself in Pittsburgh, and I ended up being there for, I think, a week. Did I end up being there for a week? I can't remember. I think it was April 13th I left Pittsburgh. Then they sent me to rehab. But after the second surgery, all I could do was lay on my back and look to the left because something happened to my neck, and they told me I had a stroke with the second surgery. During surgery, or when, I don't know exactly, or after, but I remember laying on the bed, and I don't know whether it was the doctor or the PA holding my arm up, and my left arm, and just falling down. I have weakness on my left side. It feels like I have a bag of flour tied to my hip when I walk. It feels like I'm dragging my left leg around to keep up with my right leg. I can't walk a straight line. That I believe is from the tumor removed. And half my face is numb. My teeth are numb, my tongue's numb, my mouth is numb. This part of my head is numb. I have lost all my hearing in the right ear. There is damage to my right eye. I see double. I cannot drive. It's really affected me. I can't get up and get a loaf of bread or a gallon of milk. Anytime I run out, I am basically stuck. I used to walk every day before I went to work. I'd be out the door at 4:15. I went 2 miles, I came back, then got ready and left for work. But I can't do that anymore. Light hurts my eye. Bright lights, I can't see. I can't tolerate bright lights. I used to love to garden. I have lost my balance, so walking on uneven ground in the yard or in the garden or anything like that, it throws me off and I will fall over. I usually, when I fall, which I don't like to do, but it happens, I fall backwards on my butt. When I do go up to the garden, I usually carry a hoe to make sure, like you use a cane to get around, but it's not quite the same. What used to take me 20 minutes to do now takes me half the morning because I have to go really slow, and carrying something, it's difficult. I don't have the strength in this hand, and I have 2 grandchildren, and I don't like to carry them because they throw off my balance, and I'm afraid I'm going to drop them. They will go first. I won't carry them. I'll carry them, but I'll hold them, but I have to have something behind me so I know I'm not going and dropping them. But I don't like to carry them anywhere because I'm afraid of dropping them. My husband carries them, but I have my coffee in the morning. I like to have my coffee. I started carrying a coffee cup with a pie plate underneath so I wouldn't spill the coffee when I went to sit in the living room to look at the paper. I do like to read the paper, although reading the newspaper, I see what's in front of me, but I see the other page on what I'm looking at. I see things double, like there's 2 of these, one here and there's one right here. I see a window here and a window down here, so everything I see over here makes its way over here. But I practice reading to keep my brain active, and I like to put puzzles together because that keeps my brain busy, but it's not the same. And it won't ever be the